Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Was Abandoned and Become Uchiha Dragon Emperor Part 5. Please go support Sith Trooper 09 for writing that awesome fanfic. Missed Adventures. RNS Executor. Naruto looked out the window on the bridge of one of House Blackfire's Victory-class battleship, the RNS Executor RNS, short for Royal Naval Ship. This was one of the larger warships of the West, with Dreadnought being the only ship type bigger and stronger. The ship could carry over 25,000 tons of cargo, and it had 6 large turrets, 3 on each side, as the main weapon with 10 additional smaller turrets. It had a crew complement of 2,200 and carried over 8,000 soldiers and a few of the Western military's vehicles like rocket launch platforms, tanks etc. You see anything you like, cousin? Naruto turned around and looked at his cousin, Demon Blackfire walking towards him. Yes. Indeed I do. This ship is amazing, I know right? Truly a marvelous piece of engineering. Demon replied with a smile that his cousin had a fascination for ships like him, but quickly changed the subject. Sorry for changing the subject, cousin, but why exactly the hidden mist? Because it's the nearest to our location and the best base to launch attacks against a leaf, and it is the easiest one to conquer despite the Stoner Sands loss during the invasion, cousin. And forgive my tone if I sound too harsh, but the ship isn't sailing towards mist. Why is that? He asked threateningly with his Sharingan active and looked down at his scared cousin. Well, you see we don't have the fuel to support a journey that long. Besides, wouldn't it be better if we got most of our forces ready for the conquest? He said fearfully as to not anger his cousin, who if his bingo book status was true, was much stronger than him by a noticeable margin. Most of our forces, yes. When I first came to the east, I brought 30,000 men and 1 battleship, 1 carrier, 5 destroyers and 5 frigates, as well as many more tanks and aircraft. I had just taken control of Hidden Grass a week ago and the village hidden by frost and hot water country not too long ago. The combination of grass and frost gives us additional 8,000 more men. Fine then. We'll go back to your outposts and gather our forces. Till then, give me something good to eat, I'm starving. He said, and his cousin breathed a sigh of relief that Naruto spared him and called for the servants aboard to bring him fried chicken, his personal favorite food, and hoped his cousin liked it. Blood Prison. On the island that once was the place where the Blood Prison stood, there was only carnage and death. Smoke still lingered in the air as the smell of ashes of the guards of the once mighty prison was still fresh. The ground was painted with the blood of prisoners who were executed. A strange thing was, the damage done to the prison and the deaths were new, indicating the destruction happened not too long ago. At the earliest, it was late at night while the executed prisoners on the ground were a few hours old. Minato Namikaze, along with 300 Anbu and Jonin level ninja, the best the Leaf had to offer, among them were Kakashi Haddock, Might Guy and the 2 Sannin. They arrived at the Blood Prison just 10 minutes ago and were shocked to find it in ruins. More so since the attack was recent, which explained why they didn't get any news. Spread out and search for survivors who can tell us what happened. Ordered Minato, and the Leaf Nin did as instructed. Since Naruto's imprisonment over the so-called crimes he committed 3 days ago, which never even happened, the hidden villages of Sound, Stone and Sand attacked the Leaf in small groups which increased over time. The Leaf's position wasn't good as someone had told the Fire Daimyo that one of his relatives was dead via Leaf Nin, or more correctly, Foundation Anbu, and after seeing the evidence, cut the Leaf's budget by half. Minato suspected the person who told the Daimyo was Itachi but had no proof. It didn't help that the same person who leaked the info to the Fire Daimyo also told the countries which Naruto helped about his false imprisonment, and it was a scheme by Kushina and Danzo. Naturally, the countries turned hostile and severed all ties with the Leaf and Fire country by extension. After Orochimaru's subordinates broke out Sasuke, the other villages like Sound, Sand and Stone began to attack the Leaf in small but numerous groups. The Sand Nin proved to be stronger than they were during the invasion, probably due to the stolen jutsu and other secrets from the Leaf, and managed to destroy the industrial sectors of the Leaf. And to make things worse, the Forbidden Scroll was stolen yesterday. He didn't know who did it, but suspected it may be one of the enemy villages. After the Daimyo sent a letter to Minato, he did a thorough investigation of the Leaf and found out Danzo still had his foundation active. Minato wanted Danzo dead, but he fled along 100 children from the orphanage and his foundation. Despite Danzo leaving, his idea of getting the box of paradise for the Leaf's own power and to wreck the Nin of the former grass and the prisoners in the prison still stuck with him. Without much choice, he agreed to this plan. Lord Hokage. An Anbu called and he ran towards the spot where the Anbu was there. What is it? A survivor? Asked Minato, but the Anbu shook his head no. No, Lord Hokage. But we found this. Purple fluid. This man was bitten by something big, and the purple fluid resembled the same fluid by one of the dragons Jonin Izuna Uchiha summoned during the invasion. Dragon? Did Naruto cause the damage? Impossible. Even with his dragons or eternal magicum, not even he could have caused this much damage by himself. Minato thought and walked away. He imprisoned his own son over a box he didn't even know was real or what its power could do, all because of the three fossils, Akka the Elder's fear and paranoia and Kushina's jealousy. Now, Danzo wasn't allowed to step foot in the village, Koharu and Homura were dead, and Kushina's career as a ninja was to be put on hold for 2.5 years. Now, his son, the one with potential to surpass his great-grandfather, someone whose eyes can control the tailed beasts and could be stronger than him in a few years, was gone. "Where are you, Naruto?" Minato thought and looked at the sky. He hoped his son was safe, but feared he might have to kill him in order to prevent the prophecy. Village hidden by frost. The RNS executor docked in the village hidden by frost. Demon and Naruto got down the ship and walked ashore. Soldiers, both from the west and the Speculum Luni, were there, and among them, Naruto saw a silver-haired teen similar to Demon in appearance. "Demon, you've returned. And a tad bit too late, I might add," she said to Demon, and from the tone, Naruto could say she might be related to him. "Is that him?" she asked, pointing at Naruto. "Yes, he is. Cousin Izuna, meet my younger sister, Sarah Blackfire." "Sarah, our cousin, Izuna Uchiha," Demon replied, and Sarah put out her hand and took Naruto's, confusing him. "Hi, cousin. I've been waiting years till I could finally meet you. You have no idea just how much I've heard about you since setting foot here, and you look so much like great-granduncle Madara from his portraits," she said and released him, but he still had a confused look. "Oh, sorry, it's how we greet each other in the West, right? Well then, let's get down to business. I want preparations to be made, and every soldier that can be put on the ships be ready to go to the Hidden Mist in 2 days' time. No more, no less," ordered Naruto, and Sarah looked at him with a shocked face and mouth wide open. WH, what, you can't be serious, cousin. Sure, you're strong as fuck, but we can't take on something like a major village yet or a perfect Jinchuriki. She tried reasoning with her cousin not to do this. Sure, they may have 30,000 well-trained soldiers from the west, an additional 7,000 from Madara's cult and 8,000 from the minor villages, but a major village still needed lots of time to come up with a strategy. With their cage being a perfect Jinchuriki, with the beast itself having a high water affinity, their ships would be useless against it. "I know of a way to deal with the casualties, and you can leave Yugura to me. Besides, the gains from this, if successful, far outweigh the losses to be gained, dear cousin," he said with a confident tone, and he wasn't lying when he said he had a way to lessen the casualties. "Okay then. You heard him. Go pack up now. I want everything to be ready in 2 days, tops," Sarah ordered, and the soldiers rushed to prepare for the raid on Mist. Naruto went to his room in the RNS Executor. Not a big of a room or as comfy as his manor back in the Leaf, but this was one of the many things he couldn't change. He took a long shower and cleaned himself of the dirt and impurities he received from the prison. Once he got outside, he saw 3 girls in his room. Haku, Gurin and Yakumo Kurama. He remembered the brown-haired, pale-skinned girl from the Leaf. After completing the Tea Country mission, he returned to the Leaf and saw it was under a Jinjutsu so powerful it altered reality itself. It was similar to Itachi's Tsukiyomi, but unlike Tsukiyomi, which takes place in the victim's mind, Yakumo's Jinjutsu happened in the real world and had devastating effects. He, along with the Rookie 12 and their Jonin Senays, were tasked to release the Jinjutsu, but in the end, only he was left standing. It didn't help Ido that Naruto possessed the Eternal Magicum, making most Jinjutsu useless, but some of the Jinjutsu did hurt him a bit. He got to the source of the problem. Her power was sealed away by Minato under Kushina's paranoia, and it became a demon that took the name Ido and haunted the poor girl. He managed to beat Ido, but it proved a difficult fight, and he resorted to using his EMS and Kodomatsukami on the demon to make it subservient. The young Yakumo, who was finally freed of her demon's influence, regarded Naruto as something like a godlike being and looked up at him. Ido was properly sealed and helped Yakumo by giving her its power due to the Kodomatsukami, and Yakumo's uncle, Ankai, who wanted her death and was one of the people who wanted her powers sealed, was promptly executed. "Yakumo?" Naruto asked, and the Kurama clan heiress nodded her head. "Wow, you look good. Last time I saw you, you weren't so healthy, but you're looking actually fine." He praised her looks and she blushed a bit. "What are you doing here? I thought you would be in the Leaf." "I left the Leaf with my clan after they falsely imprisoned you because of an event that didn't happen, and because Kushina and the new council demanded I marry Menma Uzuka's to strengthen the Uzumaki bloodline," she replied with disgust and venom at Menma's name. Menma was already married now to one of the new civilian council members' daughter, and rumors were he was abusive, very abusive. In one nasty incident, it was believed he got the girl pregnant and then proceeded to beat her up severely, killing the baby when it was just a few days since the mother was pregnant. Mito was rumored to help in the abuses, and Kushina didn't mind. Only Sing and Uzumaki can do whatever they want with those of lower status. "Well, you made the right choice coming here, Yakumo. You're welcome by my side," he said, and though he didn't quite understand why she had such affections for him, she was a powerful ally and the more the merrier. Gurin presented the forbidden scroll, and he was intrigued. Jutsu invented by Tobirama Senju kept in secret to avoid such knowledge getting into wrong hands. You can leave, except you, Gurin. He ordered and Haku and Yakuma left the room. Tell me, Gurin, how did you meet the speculum luni? Well, my whole town shunned me, and it wasn't until my predecessor killed all the people there and offered me a place among the group. So, you along with Raizetsu and 7,000 more swear absolute, undying loyalty to me? Yes. Then, as your first command, I want you to take off your clothes. 2 days later, the RNS executor along with the carrier and the rest of the Blackfire fleet brought from the western lands were sailing towards the village hidden in the mist. Naruto used one of the jutsu he copied from Zabuza, the hidden mist technique to cover the ship's movement as they sailed the waters of Water Country. The plan proposed by Naruto was simple. Have the Anbu of his cult and the assassination brigade his cousin brought from the east to infiltrate the enemy garrisons while they deal with the majority of Yagura's army. If Yagura transformed into the Three Tails, then draw him out in sight and range of the ship's main turrets and kill him. Stop here. I'll go ahead and speak with the rebels. Gurin, Haku, Temari and Kuretsuchi will accompany me, said Naruto, and the crew complied, relaying the same commands to the other ships. Don't you need me to accompany you as well, cousin? Asked Demon, not wanting to be left out of the action and the sweet taste of combat. Sure. Come along, he said, and 4 additional soldiers came besides near the dock, ready to escort them to land via boat. The boat reached shore and were walking into what their spies informed was the rebel base. The soldiers still wore their usual double-breasted coats and armed with their chakra rifles. Haku, Temari and Kuretsuchi wore the women's military outfit from the west, and Demon wore a special type of armor made of gold called a Valkyrie Type 9, while Naruto wore his chakra armor, the gift from Koyuki after completing the spring mission. Naruto's armor clicked and rang throughout the mist. He felt a presence following them. Most mist ninja were able to do the hidden mist technique, but for some, that was all they could do. The person following them was undoubtedly a chunin from his chakra reserves, and Naruto felt annoyed at that. He stared at the pursuer with his Sharingan straight at him. A spell, he muttered, and with his ability, Fujin, he made the mist go away. He looked at the man pursuing them and ordered him to kill himself, which he did without hesitation. Was that necessary, cousin? He could have been a rebel for all we know. No. If an Uchiha's mastery over their Sharingan is to an extent like mine, it is possible to enter one's mind and get information or create Jinjutsu-induced amnesia. This one is one of Yagura's and doesn't know the rebel base, so he is useless. Let's go. Okay. Demon replied, and they continued walking forward. From the intel they received, the army of ninja under Yagura wasn't much in quality, but rather quantity. That was one of the reasons the civil war dragged on for so long. The rebels could not hope to match their numbers, and the other villages, major or minor, wanted nothing to do with mist. Strange considering that the hidden cloud craved bloodlines above all, to the point that they were willing to start an international conflict with a leaf cause they wanted a Hyuga, but they didn't interfere in mist. One of the many mysteries of life. Rebel base. Ao, the right-hand man of the rebels and the Hyuga version of Kakashi who owned the Byakugan, was doing his duty patrolling the gates and territory of the rebels. He looked at the areas in front of him covered with mist with his Byakugan carefully, and then, he spotted them. Over there. In the mist. 4 women and 6 men coming over here, said Ao, and the rebels prepared the defenses in case they were Yagura's troops. Yagura's? Asked a rebel, but Ao shook his head no. No. They are wearing strange clothing, and 4 of the 6 men are armed with strange weapons. Wait. One of them is Izuna Uchiha. Ao shouted at the name, and the rebels tensed further. The Uchiha? What's he doing here? I don't know, but I hope he's on our side. Maybe he's coming here to help us kill Yagura. The rebels were whispering and talking amongst themselves on why Naruto was there, and in a few short minutes, they arrived near the base. Be ready, troops. Should they be our enemies, I'll take on the Uchiha while you deal with the others, and be sure to call for aid, said Ao, knowing he can only distract the Uchiha long enough for reinforcements to arrive. He just hoped the Uchiha's mastery of the Manjukam wasn't like how the rumors say it is. Hi, halt. State your business on why you are here or my men will kill you. HMPH. As if losers who can't win a war, much less have strategic gains or any notable victories over the past 5 or so years, can do anything against me, he replied, angering the Mist Ninja on the loser's remark. I am here to simply lend aid to you. And why would a leaf ninja like you want to help us losers, as you so called us? Asked Ao, and Naruto merely chuckled. Former leaf nin. I abandoned the leaf not too long ago, and as for helping you, let's just say, I have uses for the mist, Naruto replied simply. And why should I trust you? You may be here to assassinate our leader for all I know. If I wanted to, I could have my best men do that, but that is a cowardly method for one with such power like me. If I wanted to kill your leader, Mei Terumi is her name I believe, I can simply march here with my full power and kill you all. Ao stared at Naruto with his Byakugan. Back in his days, men as young as Naruto weren't so blunt or straightforward. He looked at his companions intently. The girls, 3 of them had Jonin level chakra whilst the blue-haired woman had Kage level reserves. The 4 men each had Jonin level reserves, and the silver teen with strange armor had mid-Kage level reserves, while the Uchiha had reserves bigger than his leader, Mei. All in all, their situation was bad if their chakra was so high like this, and considering one of them is an Uchiha with a Mangekyou, it was worse than he thought. Ao sighed in defeat and relented. Fine. Stand down boys. Come, I'll escort you to our leader. What? Ow, you can't. No. We don't stand a chance against them. We'll just have to deal with it. Come, Uchiha, our base is inside. Naruto smirked for a bit. At least there were people with brains who can tell a stronger person was near and choose the wiser decision of not fighting them. Inside, the place was crowded with men, women and even children. Despite the situation that had fallen over their village, they were still smiling and were happy. They had hoped that one day they would win and a new rule would be established where everyone could live in peace and happiness. Not all of them were bloodline holders, but many who opposed the 4th Mizukage's rule. Itachi viewed those with bloodlines as abominations who needed to be eradicated and his followers did too. Many who sided with him were either greedy civilian businessmen who thought bloodline owners held too much power. Naruto and his companions walked down to meet their leader. To the rebels, it wasn't every day they got visitors, especially ones that had to be escorted by their second-in-command. They could tell Naruto was a shinobi or some sort of a samurai from his attire and armor, but Demon and the 4 men, they weren't so sure. Burin and the girls noted that the female rebels were giving Naruto strange looks and felt a bit territorial. Naruto looked at the rebels and found a bit of admiration for them. To be put in such a helpless position but could still find joy and to still hope despite their enemy being a Jinchuriki who could tame his beast and use its power to the fullest extent. It took courage to face an enemy who could kill them all with one fell swoop. Wait here, Ao's voice stopped Naruto's train of thought and he looked at the Byakugan wielder. I'll go get Mei-sama to speak with you. Fine. But be quick. My patience has its limits. Said Naruto and he took a seat on the ground. Mei's office. Mei Terumi sat comfortably at a rather big and comfy chair in her office tent. Without Yagura to come and face them personally, the war wouldn't take too long to finish. Intel just arrived of a possible way to kill Yagura with a secret entrance to his office discovered. She just needed to take all her best men with her and kill Yagura before he noticed a thing. After that, rebuilding the village to top shape. If the war dragged on longer, then it would be impossible for Mist to be in its pre-war state ever again. If it did, it would more than likely be a minor village under the thumb of the 3 stronger villages, Leaf, Cloud and Stone. Mei-sama. She looked at her right-hand man Ao sticking his head out the window. Ao, I thought I told you your duty was patrolling our territory. Yes, but I have my men do it for now. Then why are you back here, Ao? Because a former nin of the Leaf, Izuna Uchiha is here. Izuna Uchiha? She said standing up from her seat. Now that was a surprise. Why would the great-grandson of Madara Uchiha and a falsely imprisoned nin from the Leaf want with Mist? Where is he? Just outside. Move aside, Baka, or I'll kill you. She said and got out her seat to meet the Uchiha she heard so much about. Please be careful, Mei-sama. I do not trust him, even in the slightest. Said Ao, concerned that Naruto's motive is to kill both Yagura and her to take control of Mist, and he wasn't too far off from the truth. Are you saying I can't take care of myself, Ao? She asked in a sweet but dangerous tone, and Ao was scared. Then no, then good. She said but decided to be on guard since she always listened to Ao's advice, and there was the possibility that the Uchiha only wanted Mist as a staging ground to get revenge on the Leaf for his false imprisonment. Mei went outside to greet their guests, and her eyes were instantly on Naruto. She nearly drooled at the sight before her. The Uchiha clan was famed for having handsome men, and it seemed the rumors were true after all. Naruto looked at the leader of the rebellion as she came outside her tent. He had to admit, she was more beautiful than the rumors say she was. She had long auburn hair that covered her right eye with 2 bangs down to her breasts, and the length of her hair stretched to her waists. Her skin was fair, and she had a green eye color with red lipstick. She wore a blue long-sleeved dress that covered the underside of her breast, but revealed her shoulders and upper chest. She wore mesh armor leggings with a dark blue underskirt and high-heeled ninja boots. You must be Mei Terumi, leader of the rebel faction and wielder of 2 bloodlines. Naruto said and did a short bow to the beautiful woman in front of him. I am and you must be Izuna Uchiha. I am and I'm here to offer my services to you. Straight to the point I see. She said with a pout. She wanted to play with him a bit longer. Well, tell me why do you want to kill Yagura? Let's just say I don't like how he's handling things. Mei noted the tone of his voice and facial expression. He was lying on why he wanted Yagura dead. He wanted to take control of Mist. She decided to let him do what he wanted, for now anyways, and to weaken himself from fighting Yagura where she could kill him. A real shame since she thought she could have a man. Very well then, Izuna-kun. she said and enjoyed the girl's anger at that. I think we can use the extra hand. All too easy. And I didn't have to use my Kodamatsukami, but considering the Byakugan wielder and the possibility that she could kill me, I'll have to use it sometime later. He thought to himself and making a note to use the Jinjutsu on her and the rebels. He turned to one of the Western soldiers and said, "You, go back to the ships and tell them to dock here. Prepare my army for the eventual battle." "Of course, Lord Izuna," replied the soldier with a salute and left. "You brought more friends with you?" "I did. Is there a problem?" "I thought the more the merrier." No. It's fine." "Good. Now, let's just wait for my troops to arrive." 3 days later, things were rather quiet in the rebel base since Naruto and his army arrived. Naruto did not quite like that. He often liked to train, but none of the training areas on the rebel bases or the ones on the warships had such grounds with equipment that made him so strong. He usually conversed with Mei, though it was more of strategic locations rather than anything else, and with Demon on Western language and traditions. Mei introduced him to a young teen named Chijuro, who was the wielder of the twin sword, Hiramekure. He suffered from lack of confidence and was a bit shy and timid, and Mei thought since Naruto was the one who killed Zabuza and owner of Narada, he could teach Chijuro a thing or two. He did, but Chijuro's lack of confidence and stamina chakra compared to Naruto made it difficult for Naruto to teach him more than a few stances or face him in a few spars. The full moon shone with all its brightness, illuminating the village and the land surrounding it, from the buildings and mountains to the ships docked at shore. Naruto looked at the moon and ignored everything else. Staring at the moon in the sky always made him at peace. But he did not come here to converse with Mei or to settle in mist, but take control of it. Yugura was an obstacle in his way to conquer this land, and a test to see if his power is how he liked it. He needed to test his current power on someone strong, and Yugura was the perfect test subject. If all his training and hard work paid off and he could defeat Yugura one-on-one, he could in a few years be stronger than Orochimaru and then Itachi, and finally have his revenge. He walked down the hill and kept walking past the rebel camps. Soldiers, from his cult, the West and the rebels, didn't know what he was doing since the ships were in the opposite direction. Mei, Ao and Demon walked out of their tents to see what Naruto was doing. "Cousin, what are you doing?" asked Demon and saw his cousin have a smirk. He shivered at that and knew something was going to happen. "I'm going to draw Yugura out," he simply said, much to the shock of the rebels. "You can't be serious. Are you crazy?" "I agree. We need more men and a proper strategy to fight Yugura. We can't handle an all-out war with him," said Ao. "You're speaking as if he can draw Yugura out." "No offense, Mei-sama, but not even you could draw him out," replied a man, snickering a bit at Naruto. "Then don't get involved if you don't have the courage to do so." "I didn't ask nor do I need your permission to do what I want," Naruto simply said and continued walking forward. "You're not the boss of us. Mei-sama is. You can't just do what you want," said Ao as he glared at Naruto's back. "Ao, please be quiet," said Mei, who wanted to talk Naruto out of this, but he was already making hand signs. Summoning. Bahamut. In a poof of smoke came the mightiest dragon, Bahamut, and everyone backed away at the sight of the beast. Mei heard Naruto held the dragon summons, but hearing and seeing were two different things, and she took 2 steps back. "What do you need me for, Izuna? What is so important that you would summon me?" came the malevolent voice of Bahamut, and everyone shivered. "Forgive me for summoning you, Father Bahamut, but I need you to fire a huge enough explosion at the village in front of you," Naruto replied and pointed at the village. "Consider it done, Izuna," said Bahamut and opened his mouth. Large amounts of chakra formed, and in a split second, a large chunk of the village was destroyed as the attack left Bahamut's mouth. Roaring after his task completed, Bahamut returned home and Naruto walked back. "Prepare everyone for a battle. The army of our dear enemy, Yugura, will appear in a few hours at most. Call me when they arrive," Naruto said and walked to the executor to get his armor. "You heard him. Get ready, boys and gals," shouted Demon, and he too went after his cousin to get prepared. "Orders, Mei-sama?" asked Ao as he looked at Mei, who sighed in a mix of defeat and frustration. "Prepare all our forces as well. Might as well take part in the battle," said Mei and walked to her tent to get dressed for battle. 2 days later, Naruto wore his armor and was waiting as patiently as he could for Yugura to arrive. Things got rather busy in the rebel tent as they started formulating plans to use, and preparations were made for the upcoming battle. Naruto wasn't involved in the planning but followed it nonetheless. He wasn't faced at the thought of facing an entire army. He did thrice before, once on Wave, then in the invasion of the Leaf, then Blood Prison, and the ousted Grass Nin. "Knock knock knock, enter," he said, and came his slave girl, Samui. "Master, Yugura's army is making their way here. They'll arrive in 10 minutes," she replied, and Naruto smiled. "I'll be there shortly," he said and stood up. He could finally test his strength out. Battlefield. Naruto walked over to the rebel fortifications and waited among the soldiers. He wore his chakra armor and had his gunbai and Narada attached to him. He waited patiently and finally, they arrived. "You look rather happy," came the voice of Mei as she looked at Naruto. "That is because I am happy," he replied and walked forward. "What? Is he crazy?" asked one of the rebels, and they saw Naruto walk out to face the army of 6,000 ninja. Naruto ignored the shouts from the mist rebels and stood 100 feet away from Yagura's army. "What is this? Did that bitch Mei send a kid here to fight us?" retorted one of the men and the others laughed. Naruto simply flared his kai and got their attention. He got ready for battle and asked them, "Are you ready to dance with me?" The Miss Nina didn't know whether or not this kid was serious, but their thinking stopped when Naruto flash stepped through 50 of them, snapping their necks and killing them and jumped up. He punched two Miss Nin who foolishly charged at him to death and kicked another so hard his head fell off his body. He twisted another Miss Nin's arm and snapped another's while dodging a thrown kunai and grabbing it. He removed the exploding tag and attached it to one Nin and kicked him away and then threw the kunai at a man's throat, killing him instantly. He took out Narada and absorbed the chakra of a water dragon jutsu and jumped up. He sliced a man in half and cut 4 more in their stomachs, then kicked another in the face. He killed dozens more who foolishly charged at him and took out his gunbai. Using wind chakra, he blew over 100 ninja away and jumped back to avoid several shuriken thrown at him. He made a horse sign and heaped in chakra. Fire style. Majestic destroyer flame. He set and the large fire burned hundreds to ashes. He used great breakthrough to clear the smoke and activated his EMS. Using Fujin, he breathed out black winds into his palms and threw it at the enemy, creating 5 tornadoes. Fire style. Dragon flame caterwaul. He set and spat out 5 fang-toothed fish at each of the tornadoes and using Kagetsuchi, ignited them to create a flaming vortex and killed hundreds in the process. The Mist Ninja used all their high-level water jutsu to stop the fire and managed to put it out, but the costs were high. Out of 6,000 that came out to kill the rebels, 4,500 remained. They shot Naruto with multiple water and wind jutsu, but Naruto Sujin to turn all their water into a fearsome water hydra and the beast began slaughtering them. "Ikami," said one of the rebels who was shocked beyond anything at what had just happened. "I'm glad he's on our side." Agreed. "So, your true power is showing, cousin. I knew you would be the one who would make our family powerful once more." Thought Demon and awed his cousin's power. Naruto saw the Mist Nin manage to kill his water hydra with their few fire jutsu. He used Raijin to make a blade on his hand and fired hundreds of needles at the Mist Nin. He made a one-handed tiger seal and muttered explode and the explosion from the lightning needle killed hundreds in one fell swoop. Naruto used Fujin to make scythes out of black wind and threw them at the enemy, killing dozens more. He jumped and landed in front of them and proceeded to kill hundreds one by one. He jumped back and landed near the rebels. He drew blood on his fingers and made the signs. Grand Ray Zero he set and killed over 2,000 in a few seconds. The surviving Mist Nin ran away and Naruto chased him down. "Do we follow him?" asked one of the rebels to his leader who was still thinking this over. "No. We have to wait for the signal but be on guard," she said and the man nodded. Demon waited for the signal but couldn't help but feel worried for his cousin. He just hoped he was okay. Naruto shot a few fireballs at the retreating Mist army. Out of 6,000 men, less than 2,000 remained among the living and they were running for their lives. Naruto landed between the army and used Fujin to summon a massive tornado. Over 500 were pulled in and Naruto used Kagetsuchi to light the tornado, burning them to crisps. He released a majestic demolisher flame and killed over 60 in a single go. He killed the remaining with lightning style. Lightning shuriken scattershot and wind style. Air bullets. After killing the last man, he came face to face with the 4th Mizukage, Yagura Karatachi, along with 6,500 more of his army. "The 4th Mizukage, I presume." "Indeed I am. So you're the insect that killed my men and destroyed my village. I have come to stop you." HMPH. "As if you can do anything to me. But, it's not me you should worry about." "What do you mean? Can you save your men or your village from what's about to happen next?" Naruto asked and his left hand sparkled with purple lightning and he sent a beam up in the sky which exploded. "What was that supposed to be? Your end?" Naruto simply said and Yagura was confused. Before Yagura could say anything further, a loud noise ANWW2 British air sirens he had never heard of sounded in the air and before he knew it. Boom, 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 boom. Dozens of explosions killed his soldiers and vehicles that could fly came about and killed hundreds of his men. "What is this? I told you before. It's your end," replied a smug Naruto and Yagura was enraged. "I'll kill you and every one of your comrades, you bastard," roared Yagura as he leaped tailed beast chakra out. "HN, come and try," replied Naruto who used his dragon armor and the two began their battle. Yagura charged at Naruto who punched him aside. Yagura took out his staff and began to duel with Naruto's gunbai and Narada. After a few traded hits, Naruto managed to scratch Yagura and absorb a bit of the tailed beast chakra. He fired a zero at Yagura who deflected it with his water mirror technique. Yagura transformed into his version 2 form and prepared a tailed beast bomb. In response, Naruto prepared a Grand Ray Zero, and the two powerful jutsu hit with the Zero winning by a small degree. Naruto sent a wave of black wind at Yagura, who was cut up a bit. Yagura charged at Naruto, who sidestepped and grabbed his tails, throwing him away. Naruto used his Susanoo and turned it to the humanoid stage and punched Yagura continuously. In response, Yagura fully transformed into his tailed beast and threw Naruto away. Yagura turned into a ball and came spinning towards Naruto, whose Susanoo proved to be useless against it. Naruto focused more chakra to his Susanoo and it became an armored Susanoo. It had armor like a knight and spikes over its shoulders with the helmet of a dragon. The Susanoo began to wrestle with the beast as the aircraft and warships fired on Yagura. The Susanoo gave a punch to the face and cut the stomach with a sword made from the Susanoo's chakra. Naruto used Majestic Demolisher Flame on the three-tailed beast's face and started to burn it. He used Sujin to make a large water dragon that trapped the three tails, and Naruto combined the Susanoo's blade into one and channeled rage and chakra to the sword. Say goodbye. Naruto smugly said to Yagura and pierced the three tails in the heart, killing Yagura, and the three tails would take a few years to reform. Naruto disabled his Susanoo and walked over to the battlefield. The rebels were winning, but Yagura's men were still standing. Naruto flared his chakra and held Yagura's head up, much to the shock of the mist ninja, who laid down their weapons and surrendered. Naruto smirked at the battlefield. His army won the fight and the war. In that moment, he understood his destiny and decided on his future. He would become the Dragon Emperor and rule both the West and the East, consolidating power in Nadeshiko. Naruto looked out his window on the RNS Executor at the land in front of him. The village hidden in the mist and water country. Just yesterday, the world saw a glimpse of his ever-growing power and potential as he effortlessly killed over 6,000 mist ninja and then their Kage, who was also a perfect Jinchuriki. After the battle, Naruto thought long and hard on his future. He never knew what he would do after killing Itachi. Killing him and starting a clan with his beautiful girls always seemed like the best idea, but he had a piece in his heart that was missing. It wasn't until his imprisonment and his fight against Yagura he decided on his future. He would rule the elemental nations and the western nations as an emperor. He was born for conquest, war and the thrill of battle, he told himself, and it stuck with him. Now, he'll begin his first steps of building his empire by installing his Mizukage puppet, who was mate Terumi, then consolidating his power in Hidden Grass Village, Hidden Frost and Hot Water Country via Kodomatsukami. His musings stopped as a knocking was heard on his door. Enter, he said, and in came Mei. You're all recovered, I see. She said, trying to sound as friendly as she can to make him drop his guard long enough to kill him. She was thankful he ended the civil war but knew he only helped to take control of Mist. Indeed. May I ask why you are here? Certainly not to check on little old me. He replied, deciding to play dumb for now. We are thankful for your help in the war, but the civilians aren't too happy with the destruction your warships and aircraft inflicted upon the village. As such, I wanted to ask, when will you be leaving? Naruto simply made a cold smirk. You forgot my terms and conditions for helping you. I get to name the new Mizukage and the village, and all its inhabitants must swear unwavering and total loyalty to me, as its emperor. He replied and enjoyed Mei's shocked and fearful face. Emperor? You said the village and its shinobi would come to your aid if you were in need of military assistance or protection. That was the original agreement. The Mist Village will never swear loyalty to a tyrant like you. She nearly shouted, but Naruto wasn't fazed. Tyrant? My dear, you haven't seen me issue a single order as the head of a government. I'm not even in power yet. He said in between laughs as he enjoyed this moment. I know you will be one, just as how your ancestor, Madara Uchiha, would be one. Regardless, the village will never swear loyalty to you. Shame. Naruto said and snapped his fingers, and three of his slave girls, Kin, Tei and Samui, came out of their hiding spots to restrain her, while Haku, who was naked and lying on the bed, froze Mei's body in place. Naruto chuckled as he got out of his bed and stood before Mei's retrained body. Look at you. Currently the most powerful Mist ninja, restrained and at my mercy. What are you going to do to me? Rape me? Use me as breeding stock? She hissed in anger at Naruto, who wasn't afraid even in the slightest. No. But you will serve me like these girls before you, willingly or unwillingly. So now, Jinjutsu Sharingan. He said and placed Mei in a mind control Jinjutsu. Haku, drop the ice. He commanded and Haku complied, dropping the ice and freeing Mei. Now Mei, go back to your men and tell them to gather every Mist shinobi and civilian in the village and to meet in front of the Mizukage Tower. Mei nodded and walked out to ready the orders. Mei-sama, is everything alright? Did the Westerners and the Uchiha agree to go away? Came Ao's voice as he looked at his leader coming in. He felt her chakra was a bit hazy and decided to be cautious for now. Yes, Ao. But now, I have an important announcement to make. Tell every ninja in our rank to gather all the civilians before the Mizukage Tower. Hi. Ao said and proceeded to walk away. Once he got to the other room, he activated his Byakugan to see if his suspicion of Mei being under a genjutsu was true. And indeed it was, but before he could do anything, a kunai came near his throat and 3 Western soldiers pointed their rifles at him. "It would be better if you do as my master's puppet commands, ow," came Raizetsu's voice, and the kunai got closer to his throat. "If you don't, I may kill you here. You can't threaten me. I'd rather die than follow you and your master's commands, and say I tried." And she slit at Ao's throat. "You, use a transformation and go tell the others. I'll take care of this." The guard nodded and transformed into Ao and went to give the orders. Raizetsu told the guards to take Ao's corpse inside Mei's room. Raizetsu then ordered Mei to get the Byakugan out, to which she did, and Raizetsu implanted the Byakugan into her right eye. Water Daimyo Castle. The carrier, a type of large ship from the west that could carry aircraft into battle, sailed near the castle of the Water Daimyo, and it was escorted by 3 destroyers, medium-sized ships, meant for escorting larger ships. On board this ship was Demon Blackfire. He was tasked by his cousin to kill the current daimyo and place a puppet daimyo in his place, just as his cousin would place a puppet Mizukage in power. "Are we in position?" Demon asked, and he looked at one of the crew, to which the crewman nodded. "Good. Fire." The turrets of the destroyers launched a volley and destroyed the samurai station to protect the daimyo. The carrier launched 2 aircraft armed with missiles and destroyed the gates and walls. The soldiers came down the ships and proceeded to water walk to the palace. "Go. Go. Go. Protect the water daimyo." The samurai came out to fight, but they were no match for the Western soldiers' rifles, machine guns, rockets and tanks. One by one, the samurai died and the palace was engulfed in flame. In just 4 minutes of fighting, the samurai were dead and the daimyo and his family were brought before Demon's feet. "Please," begged the daimyo, kneeling down on the ground. "Spare me and my family. I can give you whatever you want. Land, money, anything." Pathetic. "I may be a noble by birth, but I'm a warrior by spirit. I was taught to fight the moment I could walk and you can't do that. Kill them all." The daimyo and his family cried out for mercy, but it fell on deaf ears. Bang, 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 bang. In just a moment, the soldiers fired their guns and the daimyo and his family, consisting of his wife and 5 children, youngest was only 6, were dead. The surviving samurai and the daimyo's advisors were then shortly executed. Burn their bodies. Captain Kurtzman, from now on, by order of House Blackfire and my cousin, Izuna Uchiha, you are now the new daimyo of Water Country. Your task is to rebuild the village and recruit new nin for our cause and build ports and stations for our conquest. I am honored that you chose me for such a task, my young prince. I promise you and Lord Izuna that I will not fail," said Captain Kurtzman, who was a man in his late 40s. "Good. A battalion 5,000 troops will remain here as your guards. I will put some material and money in your place for rebuilding the village and arming the country. But I have a warning, the new Mizukage is not to be touched as from this moment, she is my cousin's property." "I understand, Prince Demon. Lord Izuna's wishes will be upheld by me." "Good," said Demon as he left to go back to the village. After this, they would go back to grass in their puppet states to use his cousin's most powerful genjutsu, the Kodomatsukami, on the populace to make them 100% obedient. After that, they would get the allegiance of Demon Country and the all-Kunoichi village, Nadeshiko village. Who knows? Perhaps he could find himself a wife and stop his mother's constant naggings. Hot Water Country, 10 days later. Naruto was currently in a small restaurant eating with his cousins, Demon and Sarah Blackfire. Their eventual journey to the western continent would begin soon after Naruto gets his business in Nadeshiko village done. Turns out, his mother had fought one of the Nadeshiko Jonin and defeated her, but since she was a woman, it was decided her son, Naruto, would marry the Nadeshiko Jonin student who was currently leader of the village. Naruto didn't know how this all happened, but from his mother's writing on the letter, he knew it had something to do with a certain toad hermit. Naruto's lessons in Western language and culture was going well. He could speak the language, Westron, quite fluently and learned of its geography and history. The continent was over 50 million square miles and had a population of over 650 million people. House Blackfire owned the industrial heartlands, resource-rich lands, coastal areas and population centers, thus had quite an advantage over the other houses. 10 days earlier, Naruto used his Kodomatsukami on the Mist Village's population and made them all loyal to him. With weapons and technology from the west, Mist could recruit civilians to make an army, and the civilian army being armed with rifles, they were a much superior land force compared to samurai from the land of iron. Naruto used his Kodomatsukami again on Grass Village to consolidate his power there and crack down hard on the populace of the village hidden by frost. Hot Water Country too was not liking being under occupation from a foreign power and were rebelling, but their attempts were futile by the west and the Speculum Loonies' combined might. Cousin, the voice of his cousin, Demon, interrupted his lunch and he looked at him. "When will the Kodu catch you?" "No. Kodo Kodo AAAAA. Kodomatsukami. Yeah, that. Your hypnosis jutsu. When can you use it again? Unlike my older brother, mine takes a 10-day recharge. In about an hour or so. Why? Cause these people are being annoying. We need your mind control thingy to make them loyal to us. You will have to be patient on that, cousin. Have the Cipher Corps managed to extract information from the Foundation Nin? No. They prefer death. The brainwashing they took was good. If they will not talk, then cut off their tongues. Bury half of them alive with their thumbs and legs cut off. As for the insurgents in Hot Water Country and Frost Village, crucify them and hang their bloodied corpses on the borders. Psychological warfare. I like it. Sarah said as she finished drinking her drink, and Naruto chuckled. Indeed, cousin. Just an hour left before the recharge is finished. Tell me, demon, are the soldiers being taught at least a bit of the jutsu in the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing? Easier said than done, cousin. Most of them are Uzumaki clan sealing like the 8 trigram sealing technique. But we can teach them stuff like the Shadow Clone Jutsu and the Bringer of Darkness Genjutsu and some more. Good. Uzumaki clan sealing always was the difficult stuff, but the other jutsu in the scroll can be taught rather easily. Nadeshiko village, 3 days later. Nadeshiko, a village that was home to only kunoichi, whose ninja would go out of their village walls to seek strong men and take them as husbands. As such was written in his mother's letter to him. Apparently, a few years before he was born, his mother was tasked to go bring back Jiraiya since the village needed his network more than ever. He was caught doing research at the village and was chased down by the kunoichi. His mother arrived in time, but the kunoichi, whose name was Takuya or something, insisted Jiraiya fight her to prove his strength. His mother fought the Nadeshiko Jonin to a standstill, an impressive feat since only Tsunade could match her power and won. But since Kiyomi was a woman, a compromise was made in which her son would marry Takuya's student. And now, here he was, standing before the gate guarded by 10 of Demon's strongest. Naruto saw the structure of the building and found it interesting. 3 forts connected by sturdy bridges atop 3 steep hills. He walked up the door, but a kunai was thrown into the ground, stopping him. The soldiers prepared for combat, but his hand stopped them. Halt. Turn back and leave now. Failing to do so will result in your death, intruder. Said one of the guards with more coming towards the spot. Seems it being an all-kunoichi village was true after all. Wait. I am Izuna Uchiha and I mean no harm. I came here to uphold the agreement between one of your jonin, Takuya I believe her name was, and my mother, Kiyomi Uchiha. Naruto wanted to go with a peaceful approach since his Kodomatsukami was currently ineffective. But, because his Genjutsu was useless for now, didn't mean he had other means. He would try the famed Uchiha charm as it was called to win their leader's heart to his cause. The leaf was no doubt going to come to Nadeshiko soon, and the leaf's recent invasions of smaller countries for money, resources and cannon fodder was proof of that. He needed to convince the village leader to move all the kunoichi west with him, and he had just the thing he needed to make her believe him. Izuna Uchiha. Report said he was imprisoned in Blood Prison and missing. Replied the guard as news of his so-called crime spread throughout the continent. How can we know you are indeed Izuna Uchiha? Like this. Naruto replied back, showing his Sharingan then the Eternal Magicum, and it was enough to convince the guards fully. Very well then. I'll take you to see Lady Shizuka, but if you do anything, you won't leave this village alive. Warned the guard and Naruto mentally snorted at them thinking they could kill him, but he simply shrugged it off. And my men? They'll need a place to stay while I see your leader. The others will show them to the guest rooms. I see. Well then, take me to see your leader. The guard took him around the village, then they walked through one of the bridges and stopped just before a building on the farthest hill. Wait here. I'll go inform Lady Shizuka. Said the guard and left. Naruto waited for about a minute or two and finally, his bride-to-be came out. Beautiful was what he thought as he saw her. She had fair skin, jade green eyes, and her hair was in a high ponytail style. She wore a blue outfit with another black one and armor on her right arm. From her figure, he could tell she was trained to be a fighter. Perfect material for him. So, you are the one who claims to be Izuna Uchiha. I don't recall claiming to be another person. The fact I can turn my Sharingan on and off at will should be enough proof I am Izuna Uchiha. But I'll get straight to the point as to why I'm here. I'm here for you. Specifically, to recruit your village to my cause. The Leaf Village's recent invasions of smaller countries will undoubtedly make its way here. Jiraiya, that traitorous toad, will no doubt leak your village's location. And why should I believe you? She asked and Naruto pulled out a scroll. He opened the scroll and out came corpses of Leaf Nin. Though they weren't really corpses of Leaf Nin, but rather corpses of the Mist Nin he killed days ago. The corpses were stripped of their original clothing and leaf attire was put in its place. These corpses was his Karta trying to convince Shizuka to his cause. Leaf Nin. She gasped out and Naruto nodded. Spotted a day's journey from here. Me and my men killed them before they came here. Their orders were to get inside the walls and by using the summoning jutsu, bring in an army and turn the kunoichi here into loyal Leaf Nin, prostitutes and breeding stock. He pulled out another scroll which was just a forged order to look like Minato ordered the invasion. From Shizuka's face, it seems he may in fact get their allegiance. I can save you from this fate, you know. How? She sounded a bit desperate as she wanted to avoid her village's inhabitants being turned into breeding stock or sold into prostitution. That would be telling, my dear. I don't know if you will join me or not. I will join if you can beat me in a fight. She said, sounding like a mad woman, but if she lost, she would have ordered an evacuation to avoid an invasion from the Leaf. I accept your condition. Where will we fight? Outside on one of our training grounds. Very well then. On one of Nadeshiko's training grounds, on opposite sides stood Naruto and Shizuka, and nearby were 3 Nadeshiko Jonin and 3 Western soldiers. Ready to dance with me, my dear? He said and unsheathed his Narada and got into his sword stance. Nadeshiko style. Roaring gale chop. Her hand was covered in wind chakra and she charged straight towards Naruto. Naruto jumped out of the attack's range and was pretty impressed at how powerful the attack was. Naruto stopped musing as he dodged multiple kunai thrown at him. He wondered where she got this many kunai to use. Did she have storage seals on her wrists like him or know the shadow clone jutsu and make them transform into kunai? Fuck this. He mentally cursed and took out his gunbai. Barrier, he said, and the barrier stopped the multiple kunai thrown at him. Aerial Walt Shizuka then floated mid-air and started spinning, throwing more kunai endless with chakra at him. Reflection. Naruto said and the gunbai glowed red, deflecting the kunai back. Gale fan. She said and blew out a gust of wind, making the kunai drop to the ground. Higher style. Great fireball jutsu. He spew out a large fireball at Shizuka, who dodged and rushed towards Naruto intending to give a kick, but he blocked the attack. The two engaged into jutsu though Naruto proved to be the better one. Wind style. Great breakthrough, he blew a powerful gust of wind that sent Shizuka flying away. Lightning style. Lightning shuriken scattershot. He shot multiple shuriken made of pure lightning, but Shizuka used a substitution in time. But before they could continue their fight, a metallic arm dropped down from the sky, interrupting their fight. Shizuka had an annoyed look on her face as she knew who this was, while Naruto gained an angry face for this interruption. Ah, Shizuka my dear. You finally decided to leave the walls of that pesky village. Now, we can finally have our battle and I can rule Nadeshiko. Said the man with weird clothes as he stood atop the machine. Who the hell is he? His name's Kikuyo. He's a puppeteer who's been chasing me relentlessly trying to beat me, gain my hand in marriage and rule Nadeshiko like a king. I've already destroyed 95 of his puppets, this will make 96. She replied, fully intending to send him flying away like she did so many times before. No. Let me do it. This one needs a lesson for interrupting our fight and I fully intend to do it. You dare interfere. Silent worm. Zero. He said and unleashed the Zero, destroying the machine. Rage and sharp spear, he extended his hand and out came a spear made of crimson lightning. The man screamed in pain, but Naruto didn't stop. In a few seconds, the man turned into ash and it fell apart. You were holding back on me, weren't you? She said as the power of the jutsu just used was much stronger than those he used previously. Perhaps. I wanted to give you a winning chance. At hearing that she scowled. Give her a winning chance, she thought furiously. Her pride as a kunoichi was wounded at that. Then stop holding back. If I defeated you, it would be at your best instead of you holding back. She demanded, her pride as a kunoichi would not allow this to be considered a victory. Are you sure about that? Positive. Nadeshiko style. Roaring gale chop. She said and coated her hand in wind chakra, charging straight at him, but she suddenly stopped. She looked up and saw that his eyes changed and he had a big ribcage made of chakra surrounding him. You wanted my best, so I'm giving it my all. Behold, my Susanoo. The ribcage then developed arms and then a skull. Flesh then skin, clothing and finally armor appeared again and the Susanoo roared in all its glory. The Susanoo tried grabbing Shizuka, but she jumped away and threw a barrage of wind chakra endless kunai, but it couldn't even scratch the Susanoo. The water dragon appeared out of nowhere and swallowed her up. She was losing her chakra and consciousness and in a few seconds was knocked out. Shizuka woke up and was surprised she was in her bed. She then remembered what happened. Her fight with Naruto, Kikuyo's interference and Naruto fighting seriously. She realized that she lost and knew what that meant. You have a nice view up here. She looked at the direction of the voice and saw Naruto, arms behind his back and looking out the valley near Nadeshiko. She saw it was near sunset and realized just how long she's been knocked out. She got up her bed, walking towards Naruto and bowed before him. You defeated me in battle. By law of our village, we are engaged. Naruto put a hand on her shoulders and pulled her up. Don't bow to me, Shizuka. I'm neither your master or superior. Like I said before, I wanted you as an ally. As for marrying you, I think we should get to know better. Replied Naruto, hoping his good guy act was good enough to convince her. But, let me finish. I wanted you and Nadeshiko as allies. As for your hand in marriage, like I said, I believe we should get to know each other better, and the choice to marry is yours. So, what do you say? I'd like that, Izuna. She said, smiling for what seemed like the first time in years. Naruto gave a warm smile, but inside was laughing maniacally at his plans coming together. Western journey, ready? Fire, bang, 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 bang. The cannons of the soldiers rang throughout the lands as the followers of Moryo I hope I get that right, and its leader, Kiyomi, were executed. A few months ago, the Speculum Luni, which was a mercenary company only rivaled by the Akatsuki, were tasked to protect its priestess, Shion, and with help from the Western soldiers, surrounded Kiyomi and his friends at their base and tortured them for 4 days, and finally were executed. It's a damn shame we had to kill them. Naruto looked back to see his cousin Demon speak those words. They were good screamers, the lot of them. Won't get any better chew toys who can sing like them for a time. Cheer up, cousin. You'll eventually find new ones to sing for you. Replied Naruto, knowing to use the term sing to describe the screams of the prisoners he tortured, like how he used dance to describe fights. Anyways, finally managed to find yourself a mate. Shut it, cousin. Just cause you have your little slave harem doesn't mean you have to be so smug about it. What? I'm not being smug. I'm actually, genuinely concerned for you and wish to see you get a girl soon. Well, about that I'm still trying my best. He said with a sheepish smile. Don't worry, cousin. You'll eventually find one. Changing the topic, the priestess Shion has offered her hand in marriage to you as a thank you. I don't know how you are so lucky, whether your eyes are involved or not. It's just in the genes, cousin. Just in the genes. He said with a slight smuggish smile at his cousin's angry red face. Anyways, have the team I sent to Spring Country returned with a new shipment of chakra metal? Not yet, but they'll return in 5 days. Was what you discovered with our Gatling gun so impressive that you had to order a new shipment? Your chakra armor is already impressive enough, cousin. Replied Demon, not understanding what his cousin discovered and why they would need to send a team so far north to get new chakra metal. It's not going to my chakra armor, Demon, but rather to my dragon armor. You can modify your dragon armor. I thought it was impossible. Said Demon, who was shocked to hear this. Indeed I can. I could always upgrade my dragon armor, but the equipment back in the Leaf Village wasn't really worth it, but when I saw the Gatling guns and the rocket launchers, I saw the perfect opportunity to upgrade my dragon armor, Demon. Dragon armor with chakra metal and machine guns and rocket launchers. A deadly combination. I almost feel bad for our enemies here and back west. Almost, that is. Indeed. Poor bastards don't know what they're getting themselves into. With the training I'll plan to go through, Itachi wouldn't last long against the might of a dragon, my might, haha. So, when do we sail west, cousin? We already conquered 3 minor countries with 2 minor villages and one of the Great Five, putting our puppet cage and daimyo in power. Then we got Demon Country, and Spring Country would no doubt join us soon, since the new daimyo is crazy obsessed with you. We'll sail west in 3 days, cousin. We'll pick up the team sent to Spring along the way. Tell me, have we made contact with my spies back in the Leaf? Yes. We've already set up radio and communication platforms with them, cousin. They'll be relaying information back to us if it is important to our ears. Good. The sooner vital information to cripple the Leaf is relayed back to us, the better. RNS Executor, 7 days later. The fleet brought by Demon to the east was sailing back home after spending months in the eastern lands. They succeeded in their mission of taking control of a few villages and countries, placing puppet rulers in power, making contact with the Speculum Luni, and finally bringing Naruto to the west. The Kodomatsukami-controlled Mei Terumi was the Cage of the Hidden Mist. One of the army captains and veteran of the 4-month war, Captain Roderick Kurtaman, was now the new daimyo of Water Country and Raizetsu, and Anbu-level Kunoichi, and Guren's trusted lieutenant was put in charge of the Hidden Grass. Naruto looked out the window of his room at the big blue waters of the Sunset Sea. His slave Samui pretended to be a chair while Haku washed her master's feet. He thought back on his growth and smiled. Now he was 15 and just last year, he managed to hold his own against the Demon of the Mist and Orochimaru of the Sannin. He nearly killed Kabuto and forced Itachi to retreat and then killed 6,000 ninja at once and killed even a Cage. But he shouldn't be too proud that he killed a Cage who was the weakest of the 5 during his time. Itachi's power was above the level of Cage, reaching a level few like his great-grandfather Hashirama Senju could reach. Of course, he too at the same time shouldn't beat himself up too much, since few have the same potential as him, and even fewer could hold their ground against a Cage, much less kill them. Aku finished her cleaning just as Kin came with fresh towels to dry his feet. Once done he stood up to check the incoming call. It was from one of his spies in the Leaf, and she had given him valuable intel regarding the Leaf's future plans, and the silhouette of the spy appeared on the telescreen. All hail Lord Izuna. Blood of the dragon, heir to the empire of Madara and rightful ruler of the world. Haha, I suppose thanks are in order as you have given me the forbidden scroll of sealing to strengthen my armies, leaking information to the other nations of impending attack, and the leaf attire needed to get Nadeshiko to my side. I live to serve and please, oh great one, but are you sure we should be communicating, my liege? The traitor scum of the leaf could hear us. There is no need to worry. Radio transmission cannot be detected as the leaf, and the elemental nations by extension, is over 200 years behind in terms of everything, particularly technological advancement compared to the West. We shouldn't worry about that, of course. Forgive me for not having too much faith, my liege. This new information regarding the leaf's scientific invention of cannons that could take in chakra and adding it onto a large kunai of sorts and shooting it is most interesting. I can leak this to the other nations to prepare them for such weapons in the case of an invasion. I knew your rank in the Anbu as a captain, now captain commander, would come in handy, my loyal servant, Yugao Yuzuki. The telescreen cleared to reveal Yugao in her Anbu uniform, kneeling before her leader and master. Everything is going according to how you planned, oh great one. The leaf's constant attacks is weakening the village significantly, and the other villages are taking full advantage of it. But what of that witch Kushina and any new word on the Akatsuki? Asked Naruto as he wanted to know the condition of the woman who made his childhood hell and on the organization that posed the greatest threat outside the other 4 villages to his plans of world conquest. Kushina's career as a ninja is to be put on hold for another 2 years, your excellency, and as for the Akatsuki, we know 6 of their members, but the other 4 remain unknown for now. Show me their identities. Of course, my lord. The known members are all S-rank nukenin of various villages, except the Hidden Cloud, as all ninja who were too powerful for the Raikage's taste were either all killed or crippled. They are Itachi Uchiha, Kisame Hoshigaki, Sasori of the Red Sand, Deidara the Explosives Master, Kakuzu the Zombie, and Haiden the Jashinist. Not much is known about the other members, except that Orochimaru was once a former member of the Akatsuki before he left 7 years ago. The organization or at least its leader must be powerful if he can keep someone like Itachi in line, though I can't blame him or her that Orochimaru is still alive considering his reputation. Keep sending back valuable information to me, my faithful servant. The conquest will depend on it. Of course, your excellency. Blackfire capital city, Constantia. Constantia was one of the 5 largest cities on the western continent, the capital of the Blackfire regime that stood near the continent's eastern shores. It was a traditional industrialized city with factories that emitted steam everywhere and a militarized society where every man and woman had military training, for the wars were constant and never ending in the west and no one could end it. Until now, that is. Ra'ala Blackfire was a woman in her late 50s and currently the head of House Blackfire till her eldest son, Demon, was 20 and he could lead the house. Over 2 months ago, she sent him with a few ships and a division to the eastern lands to find her granduncle's descendant as he or she would be the Blackfire's best bet at finally achieving their dream of western unification. A week ago, she received word via radio that her nephew, whose name was Izuna Uchiha, was found and would be sailing west with her son to unite the continent under one banner. Eastern politics and power-hungry fools falsely imprisoned him to eventually die, and she was glad she ordered the retrieval at the right time. Mama, she looked at her side to her youngest daughter of age 7, Victoria or Vicky for short. When will big brother Demon return with cousin Izuna? Soon, dear, very soon. If Demon's message is true, then he'll arrive today. Oh, there he is. She pointed to the fleet of warships returning to Constantia, and one of them was the Executor, the personal flagship of her son. There were purple flags atop the ship, indicating they completed their task. In half an hour, the ships docked and the people there, yeah. Came the loud voice of one Sarah Blackfire as she kicked one of the doors of the Executor and landed to the ground. Finally home. My beloved home of Constantia, how I've missed you. Slap. Demon gave a light slap on her head to quiet her down. Damn it, Sarah, you can be so damn loud at times. Oh, come on. We're finally back home after 2 months. So? Our campaigns usually last twice that amount. Well, we aren't an entire ocean away and on another continent. Well, now that you put it that way, it's so good to finally see my kids again after so long. The two turned around to meet their mother. Mother, Mom. Sarah shouted and gave her mother a spine-crushing bear hug. Sarah, oh how I missed you. No hugs for Mom Mr. I'm too tough for you. Demon simply laughed and hugged his mom. So where is he? He should be coming down soon. Just as Demon said that, Naruto did come down the ship with new western clothing. He wore a white shirt with a black necktie, dark red vest and black pants. He wore a black double-breasted trench coat with red fur on the left side with a Blackfire emblem on it. He wore a red cape with the Blackfire symbol on the back and he wore a top hat and his Naruto was put in a specialized cane with a dragon on the tip. Ah, Izuna Uchiha, I presume. I am Ra'ala Blackfire and your aunt. It's an honor to finally meet you, Aunt Ra'ala. Yes. Now come. It must have been a long journey and you must be excited to see the city. Eamon and Sarah have been talking so much about it that I simply can't wait to see. Declaration of war. Western continent. Name. Aridman Enoch. Population. 650 million. Language. Westron most common. Size. 50 million square miles. Currency. Talent. Largest cities. Varvold, Pratislav, Krakow, Constantia, Shamaryana. Naruto walked through the streets of Constantia with his relatives, giving him a tour of the city. His aunt, Raala Blackfire, was more than happy enough to give details of the city and was a better tour guide than the hyperactive Sarah. The city was industrialized. Factories were seen almost everywhere, making everyday goods and also ammunition, vehicles and weapons for the war effort. The city was bigger than the Leaf, much bigger. At least 7 times bigger from what he could tell. Smoke was in the air, making sunlight nearly impossible to come to the surface at all. Isn't it a beautiful city? His aunt asked him, to which he nodded. Indeed it is. It's much bigger and more advanced than those in the east. Yes. It was founded by your great-grandfather, Granduncle Madara, shortly after he arrived in the western shores. Back then, House Blackfire was a minor house, guarded by only 4 clans that ruled a small village on the shores, but when Granduncle Madara came, he destroyed the major house of the land and gave it to us as dowry for marrying Grandaunt Visenya. After that, my great-grandfather, Egan Blackfire, built a great city around the Blackfire Palace that became known as Constantia. The city has just celebrated its 103rd year just 2 months ago. 103rd. So, that means the city is younger than the Leaf by about 5 years. You said that it was one of the 5 largest cities, most populous and richest, am I right? Oh yes. Well, one of the more younger ones, Constantia is the 4th largest city in Enoch, which is the continent's name if you didn't know. With the city's easy access to the sea and House Blackfire owning much of the fertile lands and coasts, trade is mostly conducted here. I see. Tell me, dear aunt, where will the allies I brought from the east stay? Oh, there is a lot of unused space in the city. They can stay there. How many did you bring? 7,000 from my great-grandfather's cult and about 3,000 from another village. 10,000 in total. It is very minor for a city as big as Constantia. Good. Now, let's discuss more important matters in the castle, shall we? I was hoping when you would say that. Blackfire Castle, Constantia. Naruto was in the war cabinet along with his cousins and aunt. And with them in the same room were generals and admirals of the Blackfire army. A giant map of the continent, which he learned was called Enoch, was on the table, and many of the other heads of states were also there. Silence. Roared his aunt Raala, and everyone became quiet. Thank you. Today, my children, Prince Demon and Princess Sarah, have brought home to us the last living descendant of Granduncle Madara here to us. Please welcome Izuna Uchiha. Naruto walked a few steps forward to show himself to the people in the room. Some gasped at how similar he looked like Madara and shortly afterwards, clapped their hands. Long live House Blackfire. Lord Madara's blood will save us all. With him by our side, our enemies will be dust. I hope he's still single. Now everyone. Settle down, now. We still have. Before Raala could speak further, one of the cabinet ministers interrupted her. I am sorry if I sound too much like I don't have faith you, Lady Raala, but are we sure Lord Izuna here can win us the war? He just arrived here and— Whoa, stop right there, minister. My cousin is more than capable of winning us this war. He will be the key to uniting this continent under one rule, under Blackfire rule. Came the voice of Demon Blackfire. Are you sure, young prince? Absolutely. Just last year, he was able to kill over 1,500 ninja from 2 major villages and 3 minor ones, then he went on to kill 6,000 more and secure for our regime a major village. At hearing that, everyone in the room gasped. That's not all. He killed a cage-level ninja who was a perfect Jinchuriki. Are you certain, Prince Demon? Killing 1,000 ninja is one thing, but a cage and a perfect Jinchuriki at that is almost unbelievable. Of course I'm certain. I fought in the battle myself. Put one of our army officials, Captain Kurtzman, as the new daimyo of the country. That's amazing. That way our eventual conquest of— That is enough rambling for now. Came the commanding voice of Naruto, not wanting to listen to old politicians talk. It reminded him too much of people like Kushina and Danzo. We are here to discuss plans of conquest, not to talk with one another recent things. Sorry cousin. Tell me, how many men do we have? The amount of soldiers our enemy has, their forts, armament and more. Well, came the voice of the Grand General Erwin, who was the highest authority in the army, outranked only by the Blackfire family. A division has 30,000 soldiers, Lord Izuna, he said, trying to be respectful as best as he can, and currently we have 200 divisions. Meaning House Blackfire has 6 million soldiers in active duty. But the added 155 divisions from our allies, that means a total of over 10 million soldiers. Our enemies, who are the other great houses, have 50 divisions more than House Blackfire, thus have a total of over 7 million. Quite the large army we have here. What about other stuff? aircraft, naval warfare and land vehicles. We have the advantage in the air as the Messerschmitt planes of the Blackfire's Luftwaffe are much faster and better armed. The Kriegsmarine too has 6 more carriers, 20 more cruisers and generally more ships than the other houses combined. Our greatest disadvantage however is the Heer, army. The enemy's guns and artillery are too powerful. Not to mention their tanks are better than ours, and the southern lands have developed war mammoths, which are too powerful for our tanks or army to deal with. So, we have air and naval supremacy, but the land isn't ours. Yes. However, the new Tiger tanks or science division is developing, should give us a better advantage on the land, but the war mammoths are the real problem. They are this large mammoth-like monstrosity with thick armor plating and have big guns on their backs. I will deal with that. My eyes are more than enough for such. Lord Izuna, are you sure? Didn't you just hear me defeat a tailed beast just a minute ago? Oh right. Sorry. Well, that concludes today's meeting for now, gentlemen. I want to spend some time with my nephew, said Rayla as she dragged Naruto away from the room. It was dinner time for the Blackfire family and they all ate together in their dining halls. Joining them was their relative, Naruto, dressed in his black coat, usual attire for those in the West. Are the top engineers and scientists here yet? Asked Naruto to his cousin, Sarah, to which she nodded. Yes cousin. They will be working on the improvements to your new armor soon. Replied Sarah and Naruto nodded, muttering good before eating again. So tell me big brother Izuna, how was your life in the East? Came Vicky's question at her older cousin. Well, for starters it was pretty alright until I was 7 and one of the clan members, Itachi, killed the entire clan save for me and his younger brother. Killed the entire clan? Why didn't I hear of that? Nearly shouted Sarah, whose mood was completely different than those of her family. Sarah. You don't say stuff like that. Sorry Izuna, but her mind is more on science rather than the usual stuff. Said his aunt apologizing to him. Nah, that's okay. Sarah's just asking a question, auntie. Yes. One of the clan's own killed the entire clan leaving me and his little brother alive. I don't want to talk more about anything after that. It's a bit too painful to think about it. It's okay Izuna, you don't have to if you don't want to talk about it. Came his aunt's reply and he made a slight warm smile. Thank you, Aunt Rayla. As the family ate their dinner, the radio was broadcasting news about the end of the recent war and peace talks were to be held next week. Peace talks? Yes. The recent war in the continent is becoming too costly for all sides involved. A ceasefire agreement is going to be held next week. Then what was with all the planning earlier today? Naruto asked a bit confused and his aunt decided to enlighten him. Because a new war will come shortly after. Everyone knows that. But with by our side, the Blackfires can finally end the endless wars that plague the continent and usher a new era of peace. This peace talk agreement will the leaders of the other factions gather there? Yes. Why do you ask? And we are not going to do anything about it. Do you have a plan, cousin Izuna? Oh yes I do in fact. I thought maybe since this is a one-time opportunity, how about we kill all the country leaders and house heads in one go? Silence. Why didn't we think of that? Shouted Sarah with all her strength. Why didn't we? You're the smart one amongst us, sis. Shouted an equally loud demon. Enough. Nicole. Go call the military for an emergency meeting now. We have a new idea on how to kill those motherfuckers and send them straight to their fucking mommies. Shouted Rayla as she got out of her seat and ran with all her stamina, not minding the fact that her back just cracked. Bollocks. But it doesn't matter. The unity of the continent depends on it. Naruto simply stared at the scene that just happened before him. My relatives are weird, but it's better than not having any. He said and finished his dinner before going to the war room. 3 days later, the Blackfires and their highest-ranking military officials waited outside the large metallic gates of a huge room. The sounds of hammer being used to hit a piece of metal was heard in the room, along with the sounds of fires roaring and a great machine being built. So, young Izuna is going to be finishing his new and improved dragon armor, and it will be finished today, right? Asked Rayla to her son, Demon, to which he nodded. Yes mother. He said he can combine the Gatling guns and rocket launchers with his armor to make a new one. Honestly, I kinda pity those who become his enemies cause the armor was hella powerful already. The new improvements is kinda overkill. If you don't mind me asking, just how powerful is it, Prince Demon? Asked one of the generals and Demon hummed in thought. Now that was a bit tricky to answer. Strong enough to fight against a Jinchuriki in version 2 cloak and another who transformed fully, General. And he was the winner between the two. Replied Demon and the military officials were amazed by that statement. Our enemies will wish they have never been born. House Blackfire truly is the greatest and only true power. Lord Madara has blessed us once more. Splash. Huge amounts of water being dropped and the sound of fire dying was heard in the room. About a minute and a half later, Sarah came out with a crazy smile on her face. She looked happy, as if she invented the greatest weapon since artillery. Is it done? Asked Rayla and Sarah nodded furiously. Behold, the new dragon armor, we dubbed the Marauder Dragon. she declared, and the loud sounds of heavy metal was heard. It was the sounds of Naruto taking his first steps in his new armor, and from the sound, it was obvious that it was very heavy. The military officials took a step back after they saw Naruto's new armor. The helmet of the armor disappeared and Naruto faced his comrades. This thing is amazing. Not only can I fly but the guns can fire and these back cannons can fire zeros at the enemies. My new marauder is amazing. Naruto declared and fired his gators at the dummies there and destroyed a tank with a zero from his back cannons. He spread his wings and flew up, breaking the sound barrier as he did. The people there dropped their jaws at that. The armor was super heavy, and for it to fly and break the sound barrier was almost unimaginable. With an armor like this, Lord Izuna would be unrivaled on the battlefield. Said one of the generals and the others dumbly nodded. Hell yeah. That's my cousin. Shouted Demon happily at his cousin. The conquest in House Blackfire's rule was guaranteed to succeed. A week later, Twin Castle Bridge. Shuffling sounds were heard in the forests near the Twin Castle Bridge of one of the many minor houses. The soldiers guarding the gates were either knocked out or killed instantly, as the ones who did revealed themselves to be ninjas of the east, with the symbol of Naruto's EMS on their headbands. Can we signal them now? Asked a first one to his comrade who nodded. Good. He said and radioed the signal to his comrades, the Blackfire troops hiding in the forests. We got the signal. Let's go. Said the captain of the division and the guard slowly walked towards the castle. Now, all they had to do was wait for the second signal, then storm inside the palace and kill all who not a Blackfire ally. The soldiers of different houses and countries were eating and drinking in their tents outside the castle, but little did they know, soldiers of the Blackfires and their allies were poisoning their next round of food and drink, and in 3 minutes after consumption, would die very soon. Inside the castle, it was the wedding between the son and daughter of two of the houses that won the recent war. Everyone was enjoying the party. Music played, men ate and drank to their heart's content while the maids were busy with the plates. Rayla walked into the hall to sit near the head of the house that owned this part of the land, House Bracken, and their current head, Meager. Lady Rayla. It is so good to see after such a long time. May the old gods and the new continue to bless you and your family. Said Meager as he shook Rayla's hand. Same for you, Meager. She replied with a smile on her face. Are the preparations ready? Yes, Lady Rayla. Soon, all of the lands of Enoch will be under the rule of the Blackfires. Good. Rayla replied, and she gave the order. Then, maids gave out important papers to the house heads and country leaders. Rayla clapped her hands loudly, gaining everyone's attention. I thank you all, esteemed heads of the great houses, major or minor, to the leaders of the ninja clans and ministers of state in our humble land of Enoch. Today, we celebrate the merge between two great houses and the end of the recent war that plagued our continent for the last 7 years. At hearing that the people cheered but she held up her hand, stopping them. Now, I have a very important person for all of you to meet. Please, welcome my nephew and the last descendant of Madara, Izuna Uchiha. Naruto walked up a stage and looked at everyone with his Sharingan. The people there were shocked that Madara still had a living descendant and here in their land of all places. Why is this spawn of Madara here? Shouted one of the house heads angrily. Because if you look at the papers, you will see that my nephew and House Blackfire wish to unite the land of Enoch under one banner. These papers are the terms of surrender. Sign them peacefully and surrender all your power to House Blackfire, and we can avoid a war. Never. My country and people will never be subjugated to you devils. Go to hell, Madara spawns. Foolish idiots. Naruto muttered before giving out the signal. A few seconds after that, soldiers of House Blackfire and their allies stormed in the dining hall and killed the representatives of other countries and their guards. Everyone who was not allied with the Blackfires were killed. No one, not even the woman from the winning house who was pregnant, was spared from the slaughter. Demon stabbed the man who was the head of the House Blackfire's greatest rivals. Your house and line ends here. You mess with the dragons, you will be a memory, my foolish rival. He pulled out the knife and dropped the corpse of his rival on the ground. You guys better enjoy yourselves while you still have time. Tomorrow marks a new day in which only one house shall rule the land of Enoch. By order of the Blackfires, send their heads back to their countries. Tell them, the Blackfires declare war, and the descendant of Madara Uchiha is back to reclaim his birthright. Naruto said and his troops proceeded to behead the corpses with messages nailed on their foreheads. The war of unification was starting soon and he will build his empire, starting with this little slaughter. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.